Good morning and welcome back to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're taking a look at more miniatures from Catalyst Game Labs for Battletech. Now, today we're going to look specifically at the Star League Command Lance, which is a new approach to how Catalyst is going to release future miniatures. Now, I don't know how extensive this is going to be. I know they've announced a few different packs, but they are starting to test the waters with pre-painted miniatures. So, it's the same plastic miniatures that we've seen, but one of the mechs in this pack does come fully painted. And when we get to the review stage, obviously you'll be able to check that out, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. But it's definitely a new way to go about packaging the mechs. I do find it curious that they've only chosen to do one of them, but yeah, when you're testing the waters, I kind of get it. And when we get to that point, you'll also understand kind of why they made that choice. And I think, well, I'll get into it when we get there. So, spoiler alert, wait for the end. So, before we get started, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content, whether it's board games, miniatures, role-playing, or anything in between, and I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. I do have an affiliate link down in the description that if you want to help out the channel, it would absolutely be appreciated, but regardless, I'm just happy you're here. So, with all that out of the way, let's start taking a look at these new miniatures. All right, now first up, we have the Atlas 2, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. I wanted to be. I think there is some good art for it out there. I just don't know if it's necessarily the best execution or even if there really can be. I will admit, the autocannon coming off the arm looks way oversized and very out of proportion. I don't think it would work very well for the long-term support of the mech. The face, while it's the traditional Atlas skull, looks more like a dog skull, in my opinion. Everything else is okay, but it seems like it's an Atlas that just quite didn't get right. And that's kind of the best way to describe it. It's not horrible. It looks like all of the other Ill-Clan mechs. But there's a few things in it that, I'm just not as excited about it. I love assault class mechs just because lots of armor, lots of weapons, lots of everything that makes Battletech. This just isn't it for me. So, I'm not upset they made it. I'm honestly not a big fan. So let's see what it looks like with the art. All right, so here we have the original piece of art from Tech Readout 3075. This really does kind of just emphasizes what I was saying. It looks plain. It looks kind of generic. Technically it's fine, but there's something about it that you know what? That's what I'll say. It kind of has like a 70s Robbie the Robot kind of feel to it. The torso here, very blocky. It looks like something that, and I'm not trying to insult the artist, which is what I feel like I'm doing. But I feel like it's just sort of like something a kid would make out of cardboard for a robot costume. That's what it looks like to me. So I realized, man, I'm being harsh today. So this is the original piece of art. It's technically fine. it just doesn't necessarily inspire me. Now, next up, we do have the Ill Clan version. Now, I think the biggest problem with this is that it now suffers from the Ill Clan generic art. It looks much more mech-like, but it also doesn't look giant and imposing like I would expect from an Atlas. An Atlas is 100 tons of battlefield devastation, and this looks like an urban mech with steroids, kind of. You know, it doesn't look right. Maybe it's the mech design, I don't know, but it just kind of looks off. Now, with that said, I do actually want to point this one out. Now, this is the Devlin Stone Atlas 2. Say what you will about the Dark Age. I still am not a fan of this autocannon on the right arm. It's just too big. But overall, this mech looks much better proportioned. The skeleton painted on the mech actually looks a lot more... well, it makes it look a lot more like I would want for an Atlas, especially because of the skull up here on the top. So I realize I'm sort of nitpicking here, but there is just something about this mech that just isn't sticking right for me, and it's really, really frustrating. So overall, it's not horrible. I'm glad I have a mech that I can paint up in the Devlin Stone scheme. It's just not gonna be one of my favorites. So that's the Atlas 2. All right, next up we have the Thunderhawk. Now this is one that, I mean, I've seen pictures of it over the years, but it's never one that really stuck out to me. But I kind of like this one. This one looks cool. This one is absolutely, a mess load of, another 100 tons of, as I said, battlefield devastation. It does have the forearm cannon on the right and left arm, but in this case, these are a lot better proportioned. I'm not seeing a lot of mold lines. I'm not seeing a lot of things that I normally will complain about. It's a little goofy. It kind of has like a fishman look kind of to it, but overall, I think they actually pulled it off pretty well. The jets or radiators or whatever they are, down around the feet, are pretty nice. Just as far as like some extra details. I'm trying to see if it does not look like it has jump jets. So they've just got to be exhaust system of some kind, I'm guessing. But overall, it's a much better mech than I was expecting. I'm always one who's going to be excited over having more new mechs, and the fact that we get 2 of them out of this box as opposed to just one new one and some reposes, I'm pretty happy about that. So definitely having 2 new mechs makes this box a little bit more worth it, in my opinion. But yeah, overall, pretty decent design. Now, as far as its art, let's see here. All right, so we have this piece from 3058, and I'm always going to point out Dwayne Luce, because him and Brent are kind of there's a couple others, but they're the only ones I know offhand. But so an originally done by Dwayne Luce, and overall, it's pretty good. It's the current miniature. I mean, there are changes, like the the lasers that are here on the chest have been moved down a little bit on the miniature. But overall, the miniature we got doesn't look too far off from this. Obviously, it's been modernized, and we'll get into that in a minute. But overall, it's a pretty decent representation of the original art as well, in my opinion. Now we do have, this is our art for the Ilclan version, which I think, they did a great job pulling the miniature, off of the page and, into the real world. So definitely a good transition. But again, I think the strongest point is the fact that going from the original piece of art in 3058 to the new Ilclan art, I have zero issues with the Thunderhawk. I have no idea who pilots it, so that's definitely going to be something new to explore. But overall, I like it. So there's the Thunderhawk. All right, now next up we have a new variant on the Phoenix Hawk, and this is actually the PXH-1B Special. Now, one thing that I probably should have pointed out earlier is that all of the mechs in this pack represent Star League era mechs. They were originally designed during the Star League Civil War, and went out of production for whatever reason, but then eventually were brought back. So in this case, the handheld PPC is upgraded to an ER PPC, and then it also gets the ER large laser up on the shoulder. So now that I'm thinking about it, I am kind of an idiot because I didn't realize that this is the Valkyrie with the strike pack included. And I feel really, really dumb. Gosh, dang it. So, I will be honest. I had never heard of the Phoenix Hawk 1B until today. And it's amazing. The only references that I could find for it, I couldn't find any art, but the only references that I could find for it are that it was in record sheets 3075 and tech readout 3075. But unfortunately, Sarna does not have the art for tech readout 3075. I have the physical book, but I don't have a computer image, so I do apologize for that. But the fact that they did it, this is amazing, and it's definitely getting a Robotech paint scheme when I do it, or Macross, whatever. I don't care, folks. I grew up with Robotech. Deal. Anyway, so overall, this is great. I love it. I like the rescene versions that they did with Ilclan. Way better than Project Phoenix. Honestly, I have no complaints here. This is great. So let's take a look at the art. We're not going to look at a whole lot because we've already seen it in previous videos, but just for a reminder for everyone, this is the Tech Readout 3025 art. Obviously, it's very close to the original Macross art. It does not have the extra laser cannon for obvious reasons, but that's fine. And then we have this for the Ilclan art. I did try to see if I could find, like I said, I tried to find the 1B art, but I couldn't. One thing actually I did forget to mention about the miniature. The PPC in the hand is removable. I don't know why. It has a very tiny pin holding the pistol into the hand. It's secure. It seems fine. Just be aware. I am definitely going to glue it in. I just have absolutely no idea why it was kept separate, unless it was just to make it a little bit easier for packaging. But they probably could have done something with the packaging. I don't know. I'm not a manufacturer. Just a guess. But it is something to be aware of. So make sure you glue it down. That way you don't lose it. But otherwise, really good miniature. Phoenix Hawk 1B Special. All right. Now, the Orion. The pre-painted Orion. I have done nothing to this mech. This is the ON1KB Orion, piloted by Alexander Kerensky. And I will admit, I think I need to step up my game. I know that a lot of the people that hang out with me in chat while I'm painting miniatures on Mondays and Fridays generally like what I do, but there is just something about the simplicity on this mech that is actually pretty good. I mean, they make heavy use of wash, obviously. It definitely shows off all of the panel lines really well. And, you know, especially for something like this, because it is supposed to be Alexander Kerensky's mech. You'll see when it comes around, they actually did use decals. So there's a Star League decal right in the center of the chest, underneath the cockpit. There's also the 01 on the right leg and the AK, which I'm guessing means Alexander Kerensky, on the left leg. I also like that for the right arm and left arm, the energy weapons look like they're using my technique, a little bit of silver, and then like an ink or something over top. So overall, I am not upset over these pre-painted miniatures. The only thing that would concern me about doing pre-paints is how much does it actually add to the cost? Because every single time that a paintbrush is touched to the figure, they charge money. So even on like the yellow stripes, they're probably counting like the stripe on each panel as a different brush touch. So that could be anywhere from 1 to 5 cents per touch. So depending on how they're painting the figures, it could drive up the cost dramatically. So on a 4-pack box that retails, I think, for $30 instead of the normal $25, you know, if you do that, if you keep adding that up, that can result in a lot higher cost. You know, a lot of people obviously will consider, you know, the time that they don't have to spend painting, things like that. So I'm not entirely sure my opinion on it. I think the mech came out great. I am going to have zero issues just adding this to my collection as is. I don't feel I need to upgrade anything. But long term, for all of the products, I'm not sure it's a direction I want to see them go. But that's obviously not a call that I get to make. So overall, I'm very happy with the mech. But let's, you know, give it its due and take a look at some of the art. So obviously we've got our original 3025 piece of art from Dwayne Luce. Overall, this mech has not changed a whole lot over the years. It's just gotten a little bit better detailed. You know, we've got the triangular missile pod, the missile and lasers on the arm, the lasers, on the other side. Pretty standard. Here's our Ill Clan version. And then from Legends, even though it's essentially the same drawing, here is the pre-painted one, so you can get an idea of how does it compare. Obviously, based on the art, the art is much more green than the mech came out being. It's I think my light is kind of washing out some of the green, but it's definitely more of a gray than sort of this olive drab or army green that they've got in the art. So there's that to consider. But overall, it's fine. I mean, it's a slightly different color palette. I'm not upset about it either way. I think it looks good, and I think it's perfect representation. So, what do you guys think? Do you want to see Catalyst moving more this direction? Do you want to see them starting to put out more pre-painted mechs? Or would you rather they just stick with the gray plastic and you'll handle it on your own? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And I think Catalyst wants more feedback on this as well. Like I said, they have announced a few packs that are going to have pre-painted mechs, but they're only doing one mech per pack. I'm not sure if that's just to keep the cost down or just for trial to see what people think. But I do think in cases like this, where it's a named character, something where people will want that representation and they'll want it to probably look a little bit nicer than they may do themselves. I think that's a reasonable trade-off. Obviously, it is still just a plastic miniature. You can paint over it and do whatever you want. But there's a lot of trade-offs. There's a lot of things to consider. So put it down in the comments. What do you think? Let us know. I definitely love to hear from you. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. But regardless, we appreciate you being here with us, and we'll see you next time.